Have you ever caught yourself staring at your phone, waiting for his reply, wondering if the silence means he's losing interest, or if he's just keeping you around as an option? That sinking feeling in your chest, the way your stomach twists every time the screen lights up, but it's not him. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And in that moment, you start doubting yourself. You wonder if maybe you're asking for too much, if maybe you should just accept the crumbs he's giving. But deep down, you know you deserve more. You know that love isn't supposed to feel like begging for attention. And yet here you are waiting, hoping, checking. That constant loop is exhausting, isn't it? The truth is, this isn't about him. This is about you reclaiming your power. Every unread message, every delayed response, every vague maybe is not just about his behavior. It is about the standard you set for yourself. If you let someone string you along, you're telling yourself you're okay with half love, half effort, half respect. And that's not who you are. Deep down, you crave connection that makes you feel seen. You want someone who leans in, not someone who keeps pulling away. You want the kind of love that doesn't make you question your worth every time your phone stays silent. Here's what most people don't realize. The reason you're stuck in this cycle isn't because you're weak. It's because your brain is wired to chase consistency. Psychologists call it intermittent reinforcement. When you get attention sometimes, but not always, your mind clings to the rare moments of validation and ignores the long stretches of neglect. That's why a random sweet text from him feels so powerful. That's why one call after days of silence feels like proof he cares. It tricks your heart into holding on. But that same trick is draining your confidence, slowly teaching you to accept less than you deserve. Now imagine a shift when you decide you're done with that pattern. Imagine what happens when you stop rewarding inconsistency with your time and energy. Suddenly the power flips. You're no longer the one waiting, the one doubting, the one wondering if you're enough. Instead, you become the one who decides how you're treated. You become the one who draws the line and says, if you can't meet me here, I'm not waiting for you there. And the beauty of this shift is that it doesn't just change your relationship with him, it changes your relationship with yourself. So why stay with me until the very end of this message? Because what I'm about to give you is not just a text to send, it's a key to unlock your courage. It's a simple sentence that can free you from confusion and give you clarity. It will stop the guessing game and the mixed signals and reveal the truth. And more than that, it will remind you of your own worth, your own strength, your own power to say, I will not be strung along. If you've ever felt stuck between hope and heartbreak, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Stay, because the words you're about to learn might just change everything. You already know the pain of waiting for someone who never fully shows up. The doubt eats at you. The silence stretches too long. And deep down, you wonder if maybe you're just not enough for him to choose. But that thought is a lie your mind has rehearsed so many times that it feels real. It's not that you're not enough. It's that he's not willing to give what you deserve. And if you let that sink in even for a moment, you'll feel something shift inside you. Because the question is not, why won't he? The question is, why am I still allowing this? Every second you wait on someone who can't give you clarity is a second you lose investing in yourself. Think about it, the more time you spend chasing his attention, the less energy you have to build your confidence, your passions, your joy. And here's the hidden cost. Over time, you start shrinking your world to fit his availability. You cancel plans, you check your phone every few minutes, you put your heart on hold, all in case he decides to finally pay attention. That is not love. That is self-abandonment disguised as loyalty. When you break that cycle, you don't just take back your time, you take back your identity. You remind yourself that you are not defined by whether or not someone chooses you. You are defined by how you choose yourself. And the moment you stand firm and refuse to be strung along, you send a powerful message to your own soul. I am worth consistency. I am worth effort. I am worth someone showing up every day, not just when it's convenient. Psychologists talk about self-respect as a form of self-fulfilling prophecy. When you act like someone who deserves love and respect, you attract people who reflect that belief back to you. When you lower your standards, you draw in those who thrive on giving you less. This is why the single most important decision you can make is to raise your standard for how you are treated, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in calm certainty. The kind of certainty that comes from knowing your value doesn't depend on someone else's recognition. Imagine standing tall in that truth. Imagine sending a message not from fear, but from strength. A message that makes it clear, I will not compete for scraps of your time. I will not sit in limbo while you decide whether or not I matter. You either step up or step out. That's not being harsh, it's being honest. It's giving both you and him the gift of clarity. Because the moment you put your boundary into words, you stop guessing and start leading. And here's where the power lies. If he's truly interested, he will rise to meet your standard. If he's not, he will fall away. And that's a blessing in disguise. Either way, you win. You win because you finally see the truth without wasting more of your precious time. You win because you stop begging for love and start demanding respect. You win because you realize you were never chasing him. You were chasing the version of yourself that refuses to settle. Hold on to that vision because it's not just a dream, it's who you are becoming. The moment you step into that strength, everything changes. The way you speak, the way you carry yourself, the way you choose. And soon, you'll see that the one who needs to change was never him. It was you deciding you are worth more. The moment you stop accepting half effort is the moment you reclaim the steering wheel of your life. You are no longer drifting, waiting for someone else to decide if you matter. You become the one who sets the terms, the one who draws the line in the sand and refuses to step back. That shift is magnetic. It changes the way you carry yourself and people can feel it. Confidence isn't just a feeling, it's an energy that speaks before you open your mouth. And when you decide that your worth is not up for negotiation, the world begins to treat you differently. Think about how powerful it feels when you've had enough of being played with. There's a fire that rises inside you, a voice that says, no more. That voice is your truth, and it's been waiting for you to listen. For too long, you've silenced it with excuses. You've told yourself he's just busy. You've convinced yourself that the little moments mean more than they actually do. But the truth keeps pressing on your heart. Someone who cares doesn't leave you confused. Someone who wants you doesn't make you question their intentions. Someone who values you doesn't treat you like a backup plan. When you finally embrace that truth, something beautiful happens. You stop chasing and you start choosing. You choose peace over chaos. You choose clarity over confusion. You choose self-love over self-doubt. That choice is more powerful than any text you could ever send because it changes the energy behind every word you write. When you send a message from desperation, it carries weakness. But when you send it from strength, it carries authority. And authority is irresistible. This isn't about trying to manipulate him. It's not about crafting the perfect line to make him chase you. It's about aligning your words with your worth. When you do that, your message stops being a question and becomes a statement. It stops asking for permission and starts declaring a boundary. And that's what draws the line between women who are strung along and women who are respected. Psychologists call this self-assertion, a clear, calm expression of your needs and limits. It's not aggressive. It's not emotional outburst. It's controlled, centered strength. And when you speak from that place, you stop being reactive and start being proactive. You no longer wait for him to define what this connection is. You define it. You no longer beg for answers. You demand clarity. And if he can't give it, you don't cling tighter. You let go. Because holding on to someone who gives you less than you deserve is the surest way to block the love that's meant for you. Imagine the relief of no longer wondering, no longer checking, no longer second guessing. Imagine the freedom of sending one message that ends the confusion and sets you free from the endless loop of hope and disappointment. That's the power you've had all along. The power to say, I know what I want, I know what I'm worth, and I will not settle for less. This isn't about him anymore. It's about the woman you are becoming. The woman who doesn't wait in silence, who doesn't accept scraps, who doesn't shrink herself just to keep someone else comfortable. This is about becoming a woman who knows her value so deeply that no unanswered text can shake it. And once you claim that identity, you'll never let anyone string you along again. Strength shows up the moment you stop being afraid of the answer. For so long, you've hesitated to confront the truth because deep down you fear what it might reveal. What if he doesn't want the same thing? What if he walks away? What if the connection you've been holding on to was only real for you? Those questions feel heavy, but avoiding them only makes the weight grow. The irony is that the clarity you're afraid of is the very thing that will set you free. The truth may hurt, but it heals. Silence doesn't heal. It slowly erodes your confidence until you barely recognize yourself. When you decide to ask for clarity, you reclaim the part of you that has been silenced by doubt. You no longer dance around the edges of his mixed signals. You no longer accept uncertainty as normal. You decide you are worthy of answers. And when you finally put that into words, you are doing more than sending a text. You are making a declaration to yourself. A declaration that says, my heart is too valuable to be left waiting. My time is too precious to be wasted. My love is too powerful to be treated casually. This is the point where courage becomes more important than comfort. Comfort tells you to keep waiting, to hold on to the little crumbs of attention, to avoid rocking the boat. But courage tells you to stand tall and ask for what you deserve. Courage reminds you that love without clarity is not love at all. It's confusion dressed up as hope. And you were not made to live in confusion. You were made to live in truth, in peace, in a connection that builds you up instead of tearing you down. Think about how different your life feels when you stop settling for uncertainty. Suddenly your energy shifts. The anxious waiting disappears, replaced by calm certainty. Instead of refreshing your messages and hoping he'll choose you, you begin to realize you have the power to choose yourself. That power is magnetic, not just in relationships, but in every part of life. People feel it when you respect yourself. Opportunities open when you carry yourself with clarity. Your world expands because you're no longer shrinking it around someone else's indecision. And here's what makes this moment even more powerful. The outcome doesn't matter as much as the act itself. Whether he steps up or walks away, you win. If he steps up, you finally get the clarity and consistency you've been craving. If he walks away, you free yourself from the cycle that has been draining your spirit. Either way, you gain back your time, your confidence, and your peace of mind. That is the reward of courage. It guarantees growth no matter what the other person does. So as you prepare to send that message, let your words carry the weight of your worth. Don't plead, don't chase. Don't explain yourself 100 times. Speak simply, speak clearly, speak with the quiet authority of someone who knows their value. And as you do, feel the strength that rises inside you, the strength of finally choosing truth over fear, the strength of finally saying, I deserve more than being strung along. That strength is who you are. And once you step into it, no unanswered message, no delayed response, no half effort from anyone will ever shake it again. The moment you put your worth into words, you create a mirror. That mirror forces him to confront his own intentions. No more hiding behind vague replies or occasional attention. No more space for excuses or half-hearted promises. Your clarity demands his clarity. And this is where true transformation begins, not in the outcome itself, but in the strength it takes to step forward and claim the truth. Because truth, even when it stings, will always empower you more than uncertainty ever could. Think about what happens inside you when you finally stop dancing around the gray areas. Your nervous system begins to calm. The anxiety that used to live in your chest begins to fade. Instead of pacing and wondering, you begin to breathe easier because you are no longer at the mercy of someone else's indecision. You have taken control of the narrative, and in doing so, you remind yourself of a simple but powerful truth. Your peace of mind is not negotiable. So many people stay stuck in cycles of confusion because they mistake patience for love. They tell themselves that waiting is proof of commitment, when in reality, waiting in silence is often just fear in disguise. Love does not keep you guessing. Love does not make you feel like an afterthought. Real connection is consistent, clear, and energizing. It makes you feel more alive, not less. When you ask for clarity, you are not being needy. You are honoring the kind of love you want to build. Psychology teaches us that boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are doors that guide people in. They show others how to treat you. And when you send a message that sets a boundary, you are not pushing him away. You are showing him the only way he can truly have you. Without respect, without effort, without consistency, there's no doorway to your heart. And if he can't meet that standard, the door closes. Not because you are cold, but because you are wise enough to protect what is sacred. Imagine the strength it takes to write words that declare, I will not accept less than I deserve. Now imagine how your future self will thank you for that decision months from now. When you look back, you won't remember the fear of sending that message. You'll remember the freedom that came after. You'll remember the lightness in your spirit when you finally walked away from confusion. You'll remember the day you chose yourself over waiting. That memory will carry you, reminding you that you have always been stronger than your doubts. And here is the most liberating truth. The right person will never be threatened by your clarity. The right person will welcome it because it shows them that you respect yourself, and in turn, you will respect them. The wrong person will run from it, but that only proves they were never yours to begin with. Either way, your courage saves you time, protects your heart, and opens the door to something far better. So let your message carry that certainty. Let it be the moment where you stop being silent, stop being strung along, and stop questioning if you matter. You matter. You always have. And the moment you speak from that truth, your entire life begins to rise to meet it. There comes a turning point where you realize the most powerful message you can ever send is not written only with words, it's written with energy. It's the energy of a person who knows they bring value into every room, into every relationship, into every conversation. It's the quiet confidence of someone who refuses to accept crumbs because they know they are worthy of the feast. When you send a message from that place, it doesn't just sit on his screen. It speaks to his subconscious. It tells him without begging or pleading that you are not someone who can be kept waiting in the shadows. You are someone who demands the light. The difference between a weak message and a strong one is not in clever wording, but in the state of the person sending it. Desperation leaks through every syllable. Strength radiates through even the simplest words. If your energy is rooted in fear, your message will sound like a plea. If your energy is rooted in self-worth, your message will sound like truth. And truth is magnetic. It pulls the right people closer and pushes the wrong people away. Either way, it protects you. Consider how powerful it feels when you no longer worry about losing him. That fear has been the chain around your ankles, keeping you from moving forward. But the moment you release it, you discover something life-changing. You cannot lose what was never committed to you. You cannot lose what was never truly yours. And if he cannot rise to meet your worth, letting him go is not a loss. It's a gain. It's space cleared for someone who will show up, for someone who won't leave you guessing, for someone who won't make you question your place in their life. This shift is not just about relationships. It's about rewiring your entire approach to life. When you stop clinging to uncertainty, you build a habit of demanding clarity everywhere. You speak with more confidence in your career. You express yourself more boldly in your friendships. You take risks you once avoided because you no longer fear rejection. You've learned that rejection is just redirection. That single act of sending a message from strength becomes the seed of transformation that spreads into every part of your identity. Psychologists often talk about the power of congruence, when your actions finally align with your deepest values. Until now, you value love, respect, and honesty, but your actions may not have reflected those values fully. You waited when you wanted answers, you stayed quiet when you wanted to speak. But now, by standing firm and voicing your boundary, you create harmony between who you are and what you do. That harmony feels like freedom. It feels like peace. And it is impossible to go back once you've tasted it. So ask yourself this: what kind of life do you want to live? One where you're endlessly checking your phone, your self-worth swinging with every unread message, or one where your value is untouchable, your peace unshakable, and your love reserved only for those who rise to meet it? The choice is yours, and it begins with one bold decision, one text that carries not fear but certainty, not desperation but dignity, not weakness but the quiet strength of someone who has finally remembered who they are. That is the moment everything changes. Not because he suddenly becomes who you want him to be, but because you finally become who you were always meant to be. When you stand in your worth, something profound happens inside you. The constant noise of doubt begins to fade, replaced by a steady calm that tells you everything will be okay, no matter what. That calm doesn't come from him suddenly changing or deciding to show up. It comes from you deciding that your value is not tied to his choice. It comes from the deep realization that you are whole already, and anyone who enters your life is meant to add to it, not complete it. That truth is liberating because it means you no longer wait for someone else to validate your place in the world. You already belong exactly as you are. Think of how many times you have silenced your needs just to keep the peace. How many times you've written and rewritten a text, trying to say the perfect thing so you wouldn't scare him away. How many times you've swallowed your disappointment when he didn't follow through. That silence wasn't keeping the connection alive. It was slowly killing your spirit. And the more you ignored your own needs, the more you taught yourself that his comfort mattered more than your happiness. But you know deep down that this was never the truth. Your needs are not burdens. Your desires are not too much. Wanting consistency, love, and respect is not asking for the impossible. It is asking for the very foundation of a healthy relationship. The moment you put that into words, you reclaim yourself. And here's the psychology behind it. When you assert your boundaries, you reinforce your own self-image. You tell your brain, I am someone who deserves clarity. I'm someone who commands respect. And the more you act in alignment with that belief, the stronger it becomes. Your brain starts rewiring itself, shedding the old patterns of insecurity and replacing them with patterns of confidence. That's why this one message matters so much. It's not just about him. It's about teaching yourself to rise. Notice how different you feel when you imagine no longer chasing his attention. Instead of waiting, you are choosing. Instead of doubting, you are deciding. That switch from reaction to action changes everything. It puts you back in control. And with control comes peace. You are no longer a passenger in someone else's game. You are the driver of your own story. And when you lead with that kind of certainty, the world bends in your direction. People treat you with more respect, not because they've changed, but because you've changed the way you allow yourself to be treated. This is why courage is always rewarded. Even if the outcome is not what you hope for, courage gives you the gift of truth. Truth clears the fog. Truth protects your time. Truth creates space for the love you've always deserved. Without truth, you stay trapped in confusion, living half alive. With truth, you finally step into the fullness of who you are meant to be. So let your words reflect that truth. Say what you mean clearly and calmly. Do not wrap it in apologies. Do not soften it out of fear. Speak with the quiet strength of someone who knows their heart is priceless. And as you do, feel the power that rises inside you, the power of someone who has finally stopped waiting to be chosen and has chosen themselves instead. That choice is not just a message to him. It's a message to your soul, and your soul has been waiting to hear it. Every time you choose yourself, you send a ripple into the world. That ripple shifts how people see you, but more importantly, it shifts how you see yourself. You no longer wake up with the heavy weight of uncertainty pressing against your chest. You wake up with clarity, with direction, with the calm assurance that your life is moving forward. That assurance doesn't come from his actions, it comes from yours. From the moment you refuse to be strung along, you step into a new identity. An identity rooted in strength, not in waiting. The human mind craves certainty. When you live in constant doubt, your nervous system is trapped in survival mode. You're always scanning for signs, always bracing for disappointment, always questioning if you are enough. That cycle drains your energy, steals your joy, and keeps you small. But the moment you create certainty by drawing a boundary, you free yourself from that cycle. You teach your body that it's safe to relax, safe to trust, safe to grow again. That's why clarity feels like oxygen after suffocating in silence for too long. Think of the strength it takes to send a message that might change everything. That strength doesn't come from arrogance. It doesn't come from trying to control him. It comes from your decision to honor yourself, no matter the outcome. And that is where your true power lies, in knowing that you can face any answer and you will still be whole. You will still be worthy. You will still be enough. That realization is the very definition of freedom. When you act from that place of freedom, your world expands. Opportunities that once passed you by start appearing because you are no longer distracted by waiting. People who once overlooked you start noticing because your confidence has shifted the way you carry yourself. And most importantly, you start respecting yourself more deeply because you finally stop betraying your own needs. That respect is the soil where real love grows. Without it, love cannot survive. With it, love becomes unshakable. Psychology shows us that self-trust is built through action. You cannot think your way into confidence. You must act your way into it. Every time you honor your boundaries, you reinforce that trust. Every time you say no to less, you say yes to more. And every time you demand clarity, you remind yourself that your heart is worth protecting. Over time, these small actions stack up, building an unbreakable identity. You begin to see yourself not as someone waiting to be chosen, but as someone who chooses. Not as someone chasing, but as someone leading. Not as someone afraid, but as someone fearless in love. This is the real transformation. It's not about whether he responds with the words you hope to hear. It's about the fact that you found the courage to speak your truth at all. Because once you do, you can never go back to silence. You can never go back to shrinking. You can never go back to hoping someone else will finally give you the clarity you've had the power to demand all along. So breathe in that courage. Let it fill your lungs. Let it rise in your chest. Let it steady your voice. And when you send that message, let it carry not just words, but the weight of your new identity. The identity of someone who refuses to be strung along, someone who chooses clarity, someone who knows they are enough. That is who you are now, and nothing can take that away from you. The beauty of stepping into your worth is that it shifts the entire foundation of how you experience relationships. You no longer approach love from a place of fear, hoping not to be abandoned. You approach it from a place of strength, knowing that anyone who cannot rise to meet your standard simply does not belong in your story. That shift doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. It doesn't harden your heart. It protects it so it can finally be given to someone who knows how to cherish it. And that clarity is the greatest gift you can ever give yourself. For too long, you've been conditioned to believe that asking for more is risky, that showing your standards might scare someone away. But the truth is, if your honesty drives someone out of your life, they were never going to stay. What keeps the wrong person around is your silence, your hesitation, your willingness to settle. And every time you do, a small part of you whispers, "This is not what I truly want." That whisper grows louder until you can't ignore it anymore. That is your intuition calling you to step higher, to leave the game behind, and to honor your real needs. When you choose to honor that voice, you align with something bigger than fleeting attention. You align with real love. Real love is not afraid of your standards. Real love welcomes them. Real love is not intimidated by your boundaries. Real love is grateful for them. Because boundaries don't push the right people away. They filter the wrong people out. And when the wrong ones leave, you make room for the right one to arrive. That's not loss. That's alignment. This is why courage is the bridge between the life you have and the life you want. Without it, you remain stuck in cycles of almost love and half effort. With it, you break free into a life of clarity, respect, and peace. And here's the truth psychology reminds us of. People treat you how you allow them to treat you. If you allow inconsistency, you'll receive it. If you demand respect, you'll command it. And once you experience the difference, you will never go back to waiting for someone to decide if you are enough. Think of the lightness that comes when you are no longer consumed by confusion. Your energy returns, your joy returns, your creativity, your ambition, your laughter. They all begin to rise again because you are no longer draining yourself for someone who couldn't even meet you halfway. That freedom is priceless. That freedom is what allows you to live fully, to love deeply, and to give yourself without fear of being diminished. And when you stand in that freedom, you attract differently. You stop drawing in people who only want to take from you. You start attracting people who want to build with you, who see your worth clearly, who celebrate your strength instead of testing it. This is the reward for choosing yourself. It doesn't just change your present, it transforms your future. Every relationship, every opportunity, every path forward becomes filtered through the truth that you are worthy of more. So let this be the turning point. The moment where your silence ends and your strength begins. The moment where you no longer beg for clarity, you demand it. The moment where you stop waiting to be chosen and choose yourself fully, without hesitation, without apology. That choice is the spark that will light everything else in your life. And once it ignites, nothing and no one can put it out. Strength is not about building walls around your heart. It's about standing so firmly in your value that no one can shake it. When you realize this, the fear of losing someone begins to dissolve because you understand that if their leaving destroys you, they had too much power over you to begin with. True love does not weaken you. True love amplifies who you already are. And if someone's presence only makes you smaller, their absence is not a tragedy. It is a release. There is something profoundly empowering about no longer tying your worth to whether someone else chooses you. That decision breaks a pattern that has kept you trapped in uncertainty for far too long. The moment you stop chasing, you begin leading. The moment you stop questioning, you begin deciding. This is what psychologists call agency, the ability to act intentionally instead of reacting blindly. When you claim your agency, you shift from living at the mercy of someone else's choices to living in alignment with your own. That shift doesn't just change your relationships, it changes the way you see the world. Instead of wondering why he hasn't called, your energy goes back into your own life. Instead of analyzing mixed signals, your mind is free to create, to dream, to build. Instead of lowering your standards, you begin raising every part of yourself, your goals, your habits, your confidence. That is the reward of choosing clarity. You reclaim every ounce of energy you were wasting on confusion. And the more you invest that energy into yourself, the brighter your light becomes. Do not underestimate the power of that light. People are drawn to it. Opportunities are drawn to it. Love that is real and lasting is drawn to it. But it can only shine when you stop dimming yourself for someone who doesn't even notice your brilliance. Every time you make yourself smaller just to hold on to someone else's attention, you rob the world of the very best version of you. And the best version of you is the one who knows her worth, who speaks her truth, who refuses to be strung along. Imagine how it feels to finally walk into every relationship with certainty instead of fear, to speak your needs clearly, without apology, to look at someone who cannot meet those needs and calmly let them go, not because you are unlovable, but because you refuse to abandon yourself. That is strength in its purest form, the kind of strength that cannot be shaken, no matter what someone else does. And here's the paradox: when you no longer need someone to choose you, that is often the moment they want to, because confidence is magnetic. Self-respect is irresistible. When you set your boundary with calm authority, you become someone who is not just attractive, but unforgettable. And yet, even if they don't rise to meet you, you are still whole, because you never needed their choice to validate your worth. You only needed your own. So let your next words carry that energy. Let them come from a place of power, not fear, from a place of dignity, not desperation, from the unshakable knowing that your love is valuable, your time is precious, and your heart is sacred. And when you speak from that place, everything around you begins to shift, because the world always rises to meet the standard you set for yourself. Every choice you make from strength rewrites the script of your life. No longer are you the one waiting by the phone, measuring your value by how quickly he replies. You become the one who writes the rules, who decides how love will look and feel in your world. That shift changes everything, because it breaks the invisible chains that have held you captive to inconsistency. You are no longer someone living in reaction to another person's half effort. You are someone living in alignment with a deeper truth. You are worthy of full effort, full respect, and full commitment. There is a power in clarity that most people never experience, because they are too afraid to risk losing what they already have. They would rather hold on to uncertainty than face the possibility of rejection. But what they don't realize is that uncertainty is already rejection in disguise. Being strung along is rejection stretched out over time. And the sooner you face it, the sooner you free yourself. Courage collapses the waiting game and forces the truth into the light. And even if that truth hurts, it is still better than living in a lie. Your life was not meant to be spent in limbo. Limbo is where dreams go to die. Limbo is where your confidence gets chipped away, one unanswered message at a time. Limbo is where your self-worth is quietly drained as you keep investing in someone who gives back just enough to keep you hooked, but never enough to truly build something real. The decision to step out of that place is not just a relationship choice, it is a life choice. Because the moment you say, I will no longer accept uncertainty, you begin raising your standards in every area of life. Psychologists call this self-concept, the image you hold of yourself. Every boundary you enforce reinforces that image. If your self-concept is strong, you only tolerate what aligns with your worth. If it is weak, you make excuses for people who mistreat you, and you convince yourself that you don't deserve better. But here's the truth: your self-concept is not fixed. It grows with every act of courage. Each time you demand clarity, each time you refuse to settle, each time you walk away from mixed signals, you strengthen that image of yourself as someone powerful, someone confident, someone worthy of love that is consistent and real. And that stronger image begins to attract a stronger reality. You stop drawing in people who thrive on keeping you uncertain. You start attracting people who value communication, who respect your time, who want to build something lasting. Because like attracts like, when you embody self-respect, you naturally call in relationships that reflect it back to you. This is why one message, one act of clarity can ripple into every corner of your life. It's not just about what happens with him, it's about who you become in the process. So let your words be a reflection of this truth. Not words coded in fear, not words desperate for a response, but words steady and clear. Words that say, I know my worth, and I will not stand in limbo another day. And when you send them, know that you are not just speaking to him, you are speaking to yourself, reminding your own heart that you will never again accept anything less than the love you deserve. When you declare your worth, something inside you shifts forever. It is not just about sending a message, it is about stepping into a new identity. The identity of someone who no longer negotiates with disrespect, who no longer bargains for scraps of attention, who no longer confuses inconsistency with passion. That moment is a turning point because it awakens the part of you that has been waiting to lead, the part that knows you were born for more than half-hearted love. There is freedom in this awakening. Suddenly, you no longer feel trapped by someone else's choices. You stop living in the anxiety of waiting, and you begin living in the certainty of deciding. That shift is psychological liberation. Research shows that one of the greatest drivers of human happiness is autonomy, the feeling that you are in control of your own life. And when you claim that autonomy and love, you feel it in your bones. The weight that once dragged you down begins to fall away. The mental loops of wondering, checking, hoping, they dissolve. And what is left is space. Space for peace, space for joy, space for love that nourishes instead of drains. Your courage does not just change how you see him, it changes how you see yourself. The moment you speak with clarity, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who is worthy of clarity. Each word becomes a brick in the foundation of your self-respect. And as that foundation grows stronger, your confidence rises with it. Confidence is not built in silence, it is built in action. Every time you honor your own needs, you prove to yourself that you are someone who deserves to be honored. And here's the truth, people respond to that energy. When you carry yourself as someone who knows her value, the world treats you differently. Men who only want to play games since they cannot win here. They either step up or step out because your standard makes it impossible for them to linger in the shadows. And that is exactly what you want. You are not afraid of who leaves because every person who falls away clears space for the one who is meant to stay. Imagine the relief of no longer overthinking what every message means. Imagine the strength of no longer bending your life around someone else's uncertainty. Imagine the joy of loving without fear because you trust yourself to walk away the moment respect disappears. That is the life you are building when you refuse to be strung along. It is not just about ending confusion. It is about creating a love story that aligns with your highest self. And that story begins with you. It begins with the decision to believe in your own value so deeply that no one else's hesitation can shake it. It begins with the words you choose today, words that honor your heart, words that declare your standard, words that open the door to a higher kind of love. And when you send them, you will feel the difference immediately. Because this is not just a message, it is a movement inside you, a declaration that you will never again settle for less than you deserve. Strength grows every time you act in alignment with your truth, and the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. At first, you may feel resistance. A voice inside you may whisper, what if I lose him? What if I end up alone? That fear is powerful, but it is also an illusion. You cannot lose what was never fully yours. You cannot cling to half love and expect it to transform into wholeness. Real connection does not need to be forced. It flows. And the sooner you release what is holding you in confusion, the sooner you make space for what is real. There is something deeply liberating about letting go of fear. Fear keeps you chasing validation, keeps you waiting for scraps, keeps you silencing your needs to avoid pushing someone away. But love built on fear is not love at all. It is a cage. And you were not born to live in a cage. You were born to expand, to create, to rise into the fullness of your power. That fullness cannot exist in the shadows of uncertainty. It thrives only in the light of truth. And truth begins the moment you decide to be honest with yourself and with him. Honesty does not mean anger. It does not mean lashing out or demanding answers. True honesty is calm, steady, and clear. It is the strength to say, this is what I need. This is what I deserve. If you cannot give it, I will not stay in confusion. Those words carry more weight than any emotional outburst. They come from a place of dignity, and dignity commands respect. Even if he cannot give you what you want, he will know you are not someone to toy with. And more importantly, you will know it too. That self-knowing is priceless. It rewires your entire belief system. Because once you prove to yourself that you can stand strong, that you can face uncertainty, that you can walk away from mixed signals, you become unstoppable. You realize that your happiness has never depended on someone else's text, someone else's decision, someone else's attention. It has always depended on your courage to honor yourself. This courage does not just change your love life. It spills into every area of who you are. You walk differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself with a quiet power that no one can ignore. People feel it when you enter a room. They sense it in your energy, in your presence, and they respond to it. Respect attracts respect. Strength attracts strength. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, the world mirrors it back to you. And here is the most beautiful part. You do not have to wait for someone to validate you. You are already valid. You are already enough. You are already worthy of the love, the devotion, the consistency you desire. The message you send is not a plea for recognition. It is a declaration of that worth. It is a statement to the universe that you will no longer participate in anything that makes you smaller. And when you take that stand, life begins to meet you with the kind of love that lifts you higher, the kind of love that never leaves you questioning. This is the power you hold right now. It is not in his response. It is in your decision. The decision to never again settle for being strung along. The decision to claim the love you truly deserve. Every time you honor yourself, you plant the seed for the future you deserve. That future is not built on someone else's inconsistency. It is built on your strength, your clarity, your refusal to accept anything less than respect. And here's the truth most people never realize. The boundaries you set today are the foundation of the love you will experience tomorrow. If you accept confusion now, you invite more confusion later. But if you demand clarity now, you invite clarity into every part of your life. Boundaries are not walls to keep love out.